got a set of books that is more meaty, for lack of a better way to say that, and it looks like you have more assets and you have more control over your infrastructure and your financing. And a lot of people ask me what type of QuickBooks they should get. QuickBooks Pro will probably work for virtually anybody in this room. QuickBooks Pro, they do have some kind of specialized QuickBooks, but usually you don't need it. I had a plumber call me last week and say that he had to get QuickBooks for construction companies because he had to do bids, and the invoicing in QuickBooks only had the word proposals. If you're in QuickBooks, their invoices, their proposals, their bids, you can make those say anything you want them to say. A little bit of a messy looking P&L, and there's some things that are in sub-accounts and some things that aren't. And what I really recommend is if you have some like expenses, the example I have up here is insurance. If you just start the title of the chart accounts out with the common word, in this case insurance, and you put the different categories of insurance there, it's going to make your P&L easier to read, and you're not going to have this kind of funky looking structure of these sub-accounts. Also, and I use the insurance example very strategically because insurance is one of the things that have many different implications on your income tax return, and your tax preparer is going to need to know of all the insurance you paid, what was it for, because they all have different implications for income tax. Also, the bottom two bullet points here under number 1 are very common mistakes that people that are not familiar with QuickBooks make. They have a tendency to put the draw that they take as an owner as an expense, and they have a tendency to put things like money they put into the company as either a transfer from one account to another ends up sitting up there in income, and they do things like if they have a company car, they make loan payments as an expense. What you really want to do, and I've got the examples here, how you want to set them up, and we'll go over these a little bit more later. And I also have a sample income statement and a balance sheet in your handout, but pretty much you want to try to keep only on your income and expense statement, you really want to keep true income and true expenses. Anything that would be a write-off for you for taxes or that you would have to pay tax on is really what you want in your income statement. Brianna? We just lost Brianna and now I have a power problem. I'm sorry about the technology, everybody. And equity is everything the company owes. So any debts of the company, credit card payable, anything like that, and in business, the company owes any leftover money to the owner. So I love saying that in your balance sheet, your liabilities and equities, everything the business owes. So we've already talked a lot about the profit and loss. We don't need to go over that. If you're not familiar with what a general ledger is, if you use QuickBooks, QuickBooks creates a report called a general ledger. General ledger is every single account on your balance sheet and your income statement in the exact order that they're in your balance sheet and income statement, and it's every single thing you posted to that account all year. So if you're ever looking at your, I'm going to skip over the bullet point number 1 because it's pretty much talking about banking, and the exercise that I'm going to show you real quick regarding credit cards actually goes for bank statements. There's 2 ways to enter credit card charges and the things that are coming through our bank statements. More and more of us use debit cards for everything under the sun. So it's not uncommon now to have a bank statement that's got maybe half a dozen checks and 40 debit transactions in any one month for all these different things. There are people that will literally go in there and say Chevron, $40, and Arco, $52, and Office Depot, $17. I do not propose that you enter all those transactions like that manually. Even if you're not doing your own QuickBooks and you're paying someone by the hour, I still think that's an incredible waste of time. It's not wrong to do one of these example expenses. I write auto, office, whatever it is, and down at the bottom, you'll just see how I subtotal those things. So if I were entering this bank statement in my QuickBooks or the next page, the credit card statement, I would sit there and say, okay, this telephone I'm going to enter by itself, but all these gas charges or all these Office Depot charges or all these postage charges, I'm going to lump them together, and I'm going to make notes right on my statement. And one thing that is on it's on the PowerPoint, it's on your handout. When you're entering things that have gone through the bank that you didn't write a check for, make one check a month when you do your bank statement. You're gonna make one check a month that's Wells Fargo debits or Bank of America debits, whatever it is. And you've literally got your bank statement sitting in front of you on the desk, and you're making a little note, it's your statement, neatness doesn't count. You're making a note of everything that went through your bank statement, bank fees, money you transferred in, money you transferred out, anything like that, what my clients did with the free miles. So let's say you take a few business trips and you collect some free miles and you use your free miles to go to Hawaii. As long as you're not deducting a vacation to Hawaii, you're probably not going to have any problems. Is that your question?
No, the mileage, and how many people for traveling from our car mileage.
Oh, if you were to drive to another state? Okay, mileage, for most people in this room, miles is the best deduction for you to take, and every 2 miles you drive is $1. So if you're driving to Texas for business, it's a lot of miles, it's a huge deduction, it's definitely more money than you're spending on gas for that trip. But every 2 miles is a deduction. I think for this year it's 55 cents. I never remember it because I always look it up. But every 2 miles you drive your car for business is $1 deduction. And it does not cost most of us $1. It does not cost most of us 50 cents to actually run our car. So is that more your question? Yes.
So what about services? I mean, if you're going to get a loan, let's say, and you hire a service to clean up your credit or something like that, can be considered
Sales, it's a sales rep that's just commission only. Should be 1099, not on payroll, yes.
That's true. I'll tell you, there's anonymous sources for that. A funny story I tell, which is actually it just cracks me up. Had a real estate guy who did a lot of model homes. And he would pay the little girls I didn't say that. But anyway, he would pay the professional real estate ladies that managed the model homes on the weekends. He would pay them 1099s, not payroll. And then he got a payroll audit and come to find out that they didn't have a real estate license, he couldn't pay them 1099. So then fast forward 20 years later, the same fella gets a payroll audit, and this time he made sure that all his hostesses at model homes had real estate licenses, but he was paying them per shift, not per commission. And I guess you can only 1099 someone if they're being paid by commission, not by hour or by shift. So he actually lost 2 payroll audits in a row, and I felt like an idiot because I kind of left him hanging on both of them. Fortunately, he was a nice guy, and it was a learning experience for both of us. But so if you're paying them truly on commission, I believe you're fine. But I would have a contract and I would be careful. That's, you know what I mean? Because what happens is sometimes they go to unemployment anyway. I mean, people in financial hardship.
Folks, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Pretty good? Ideas and questions?
Oh, you came.
So we are
Did you say
sending a couple
anything
folks
to
around
it?
to collect the blue sheets. If you just want to collect them from your table, hold them up while people walking around. Yeah, actually, no, you weren't taking lunch orders. Bruce Chris, right? Okay, yeah, the gentleman back there, who take lunch orders. Same guy that wanted an omelet or an egg benedict this morning, and I told him he could find it, right? Does anyone need any more refreshments? Do you guys need a 5-minute break Is that? Should we take 5? Everybody? Okay, let's do that. I think there's a little handiness going on. Go do your refreshments, buy a break, and we'll be back here in just 5 minutes.
This is Don Chilampalia from the College of Business, and we're here midway through our inaugural session. And let me say that so far this has really been a great event. We had a really great presentation dealing with social media, and secondly, a really great presentation dealing with QuickBooks and accounting. So we'll be talking a little bit later about the final details in terms of how we've done this, but so far this has been a really great turnout, and we've really appreciated having everyone out to do this so far.
With Maria Hughes, she is from SBA. She has been working in the community, definitely a community asset for many years. She's going to cover some basic information about lending and then hand it off to Robert, who works for Axiom, that focuses on non-traditional and character lending. So, Maria.
My name is Maria Hughes. I'm from the government. I'm here to help. How about that? I was going to have you all get up and do some jumping jacks, but I thought, nah, since you had a break, you don't need that anyway. Anyway, what I'm going to talk to you about a little bit is what we do at the SBA. As you all should know, we are a federal agency, and we are there to help you. We're actually there to serve in many capacities. One of the things we do is management assistance, and this comes in terms of assisting through our resource partners, which are SCORE and Small Business Development Centers. The SCORE folks are a bunch of volunteers who have many, many years of business experience, and they can actually help you by counseling. And the counseling is free, as many times as you need to come back. They also offer classes throughout the year in all different areas of business. Most of the classes are like 2 to 3 hours, and there's a couple that are like all day long. And they're wonderful because you have a chance to interact with people who actually have experience. And so we come in as guarantors. You process the loan with the credit union or the bank. Everything's with the bank. The only time you hear from us is if you default. So you don't want to hear from us. The bank does all the processing, they will deliver everything that you need. You supply all the information to them, and then you come to us for a guarantee. We either agree or we don't. We usually do. And then they disperse the loan. That's kind of how it works. We're sort of your mom and dad. You know, when your son or your daughter goes to get their first car, then you'll give them credit because there's not enough credit or might be a little shaky. They ask mom and dad to sign. We're your mom and dad at SBA. So we don't do 100% guarantee. And as I mentioned, we don't do any direct lending. And there are no grants. Now, there are grants in the government, but they're not through the SBA to individuals or small businesses. So if you're hearing someone say there are grants, please don't ask us because we don't have those, okay? We have what's called the 7A loans. This comes in Section 7A of the Small Business Act, and that governs all of our loan programs. Under that, we have term loans, we have lines of credit, which we call CAP lines. We have Patriot Express for those of you who are veterans. We have Export Working Capital, International Trade, different types of loan products. When you go to the bank, you need to tell them what type of business that you are and what kind of money that you need. You might need money for working capital. Well, you might need just a line of credit. It might work a lot better than just a term loan. If you're into export working has a whole different section on that as well. So you need to let the people know what it is that you're looking for. Or maybe if you're in a seasonal type of business, you'll need a line of credit more so than a term loan. And then we also do business with a company called the Certified Development Company, otherwise known as the CDC Small Business Finance. Now, I'm not going to tell you much about them because Eddie's here to tell you about it after we speak afterwards. So he'll tell you everything you guys want to know about the CDC. But they're a wonderful resource partner, and we work with them all the time. They also oversee the 7M microloan program, which is a loan program that goes up to $50,000. So if you need a little bit of money, it's a wonderful place to go to. Now, our maximum loan now is $5 million. It used to be $2 million, got raised last year from $2 million to $5 million, and that's a permanent change. Money, but the bank cares because it lessens their exposure.